Okay, guys, I'm here today with Bret Bouer from our infrared sauna detox expert. Hi, Bret. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, Bret, as we spoke briefly, we discussed the fact that our group is really into sauna and detoxing, and we received many questions about what kind of infrared saunas, how to use the infrared saunas, and if there are alternatives to, the full-on saunas like infrared mat or even these portable saunas. Concerns about EMF and for people who have severe sensitivity. So I'll give you the floor, and if you can shed some light, I will check here with our people, and if questions are coming in, I'll report them back to you.
Sure. I'll shed some infrared light. That's the definition of guru, is to bring somebody from darkness to light. And that's what I say. I'm the sauna guru, because I bring people from the darkness of toxins to the infrared light of detoxification. That's my little pun. So just as way of background, so I've been a health and wellness expert for about 23 years. And about a decade ago, I started to really get into detoxification, long-term fasting, different methods of detox. And then I learned about saunas and the sauna Niacin Detox Protocol. And I thought, okay, I need to get a sauna. And so I started researching saunas. And I thought, okay, my brain functions pretty well. I'm really good at research. I'll spend a week full-time, 8 hours a day, research saunas, figure it out. And then once I figure it out, I'll order a sauna by the end of the week and I'll be all set. And at the end of the week of researching, I was like, I have no clue. There's like one group says this, the other group says that, like what is going on? Like, I have no idea. And I thought, well, I don't have much money, so I've got to get it right the first time. So I kept researching, and week after week after week, 8 hours a day, it's all I did. And after about 3 months, I started to sort out some truths. And the reason that it was so complicated and so hard to figure out, this is before I had the Facebook group where we crowdsourced the truth about saunas. So I was having to figure it out without, from the propaganda that the sauna companies put out. And the thing about it is, that's really interesting, is the sauna industry is unregulated. And so that means they can lie. They can say whatever they want. So they could market an ABC made in China sauna that's made with toxic materials and high in EMFs. They can say, no, we don't use any toxic materials. Our saunas are low in EMFs. Yeah, we're good. Order today. And because of the incentives in the sauna industry, because it's a one-off purchase, if you end up being unhappy and it's non-returnable functionally because of the shipping costs and restocking fees, it's like $3,000 to return one. So it's cost prohibitive to return. And so if they can just dupe a customer once, they're good. And so that's kind of how the sauna industry has been designed, really. Unfortunately, this is the disturbing truth about the sauna industry, is that 90% of saunas are made in the same 3 cheap factories in China. They're mass produced to very low quality standards. They make slight changes. And so what they're trying to do is these companies, people think, well, they think about what they want. Oh, I want a good, healthy infrared sauna to improve my health, they're absolutely phenomenal. But you have to think, well, what does the company want? What do the companies selling these want? Well, they want to optimize profits. How do you optimize profits? Well, you optimize profits by making the sauna as cheap as possible, by, instead of using good infrared panels, just use Asian floor heaters, because those are cheap. And so that's what most sauna companies do. And that's, I don't know if have you ever seen, Barbara, those infrared sauna panels that go like way up high on the walls? And I always joke, like, those are for the 8-foot tall people. Like what the heck? Why are they doing that? Because infrared doesn't penetrate the skull, far infrared doesn't. And so why would you go above the shoulders? I mean, that would be like buying a tanning bed that's 10 feet long, that's the same wattage, but you're only 5 or 6 feet tall. You're losing all of that extra power. And so why are they doing that? Well, it's because these Asian floor panels are very long. They're floor heaters because they don't have carpet in a lot of their areas. And so to heat the floors, they use these electric infrared floor panels, which are oftentimes made with plastic, and they're oftentimes loaded with EMFs. And that's not just a concern for people who are EMF sensitive. Dr. Mercola, who what I look for when I look for experts is I always look for people who specialize in something. And that's why I respect very much what you do with the lymphatic system is you're a specialist. So rather than listening to this general health guru about the lymphatic system, I'm going to go to somebody like you who's really studied it in depth and say, well, okay, Barbara really knows her stuff here because she specialized in it. Well, Dr. Mercola specialized in studying EMFs and their effects. He interviewed the top people in the world, wrote a book on it, the whole deal. And he says exposure to EMFs is like aging on steroids. It's worse than chain smoking. And so it's not like, well, it's not like an allergy. Well, some people are allergic to it, some people aren't. It's like, it's absolutely catastrophic to people's health. And what I've learned from running the largest sauna detox group in the world, my Facebook group with over 43,000 members, is I tell my group members, get an EMF meter, test your sauna, test your sauna. And they say, well, Bret, I got the one you recommend. Well, I don't care, test it anyway. What if there was a defect? I mean, I haven't seen one yet, but trust but verify. That's something, a statement that I really think is important, especially in this area. Well, so that's a big problem is EMFs in saunas, that's why it took me 5 months to figure out which sauna was actually good. And it turns out there's one company that has the patent on the low EMF sauna. And as an inventor, I can tell you, you can't lie to the patent office. In order to get a patent issued, you have to what's called prove your claims. And so you actually have to be able to prove that you can do something. And so that's one issue. So there's really three things that are super important to look for in an infrared sauna. So one is low in EMFs, and not in their marketing literature, not in their third-party studies, because what they could do is they could buy a panel from another company. So they say, well, we have independent certification. There's one of the major sauna companies out there reach out to me and offered me a ridiculous amount of money to endorse and sell their saunas. And I'm like, well, no, I've seen the EMF reports from my group members. And they're like, well, no, we have independent third-party studies showing that. I'm like, well, yeah, dude, I don't know who you bought off or how you scammed that one, but I only care about what it is in the real world. There's a lot of ways to gamify the system to deceive people. And so that's why I trust consistent group member reviews of the actual EMF levels. So that's the number one concern is EMFs in a sauna. And the second thing is toxins. That might sound a little strange because people are like, what do you mean toxins in my sauna? It's a wooden box. How are we, what are we talking about? But you can have toxic glues, plastics, plywoods, things like that. And as you know, Barbara, toxins migrate with heat. If you have a water bottle in a hot car all week long versus in a cold fridge, the one in the hot car is going to taste like plastic. And that's what happens with an infrared sauna is you're in an enclosed container and it's heated up to 140, 160 degrees, whatever it is. And so those toxins migrate out and there's very little circulation in there. And so it creates an invisible smoke of toxins. And I call them with a combination of, and this is a disturbing truth for people. And I don't like sharing this, but for those that have the capability, at least those who haven't already invested in a sauna, it's super important to know that a lot of these are toxic cancer boxes. We actually had a lady who got the Costco sauna and a dynamic Costco sauna, and it was off the charts in EMFs. She didn't find this out until a couple of years later. She ended up getting cancer, and she tested her sauna, and it's like 60 times the maximum safe level. And according to Dynamic's own report, I did a video on this, their saunas at room temperature are loaded with toxins, lots of VOCs at room temperature. And so this is just the state of the sauna industry. So the two most important things for safety are low EMFs and no toxic materials. And then the third is a good warranty, because unless you're like rich and stupid, and can afford to buy or fix one every 5 years or whatever, you want one with a good warranty. So I recommend getting a sauna from a company that has not only a lifetime warranty, but a good company that backs it up, because sauna companies are, they go in and out of business a lot. I have group members reach out to me and say, Bret, I have ABC brand of sauna, but I'm having troubles getting parts. I'm like, oh yeah, they went bankrupt 3 years ago. And so even if it's a good warranty, if the company isn't stable, the warranty is not good. So those are kind of what I call the foundational things. And you have to be really cautious, because these sauna salespeople, they're brilliant. I mean, they're masterful salespeople. And so they're like, well, you know, our special heaters have these wavelengths and they're scientifically proven to do this. And these other companies use this wood type and everything else. And I'm like, well, dude, I don't care if you have magical fairy dust heaters and all of these claims. If it's filled with toxins and EMFs, like who cares? Who cares what wood type if it's made out of African zebra wood? Like that's beautiful, but like, so what? If it's a toxic cancer box, why does that matter? But they're diverting people's attention from the most important things. And so that's why I have a sauna buyer's guide in my group that kind of goes over this. You need to rank order things in terms of priority, and safety and reliability are the most important things. And so that's, that's kind of what I've learned there. Sorry for the long rant, but there's a lot involved.
So here to recap for those who are coming now, the three most important elements to consider when buying a sauna would be the EMF emission, the toxins emissions, and of course, looking for a good warranty. Now, you mentioned at the beginning that you found in your studies that only one company actually has a patent as a low EMF. Can you disclose the name of this company?
Yeah, I will. I do want to be careful in letting people, sometimes people you've noticed this as a wellness influencer, people they want a quick answer and they're just like, oh, I need to take magnesium, and they just go buy magnesium. It's like, well, wait a minute, there's some nuance to it. So that's my hesitation here. And I'll tell you the nuance in a second. So the company is Clearlight. So the founder, Raleigh Duncan, about 25 years ago, was a chiropractor in Berkeley, California. And if you know anything about Berkeley, California, 25 years ago, it's like this hippie wellness place. And he's a chiropractor there. And he was using infrared for treatment of chiropractic issues. And he was getting such good results that he was like, wow, why am I doing chiropractic when infrared seems to work better? And so he started making infrared saunas. And 25 years ago, he was like, well, I wonder about the EMFs. Very conscientious guy. And he realized that it was high. And so he thought, well, how do we mitigate this? And it turns out that there's actually a canceling effect, which is super fascinating. I remember this when I was a teenager in the car stereos, and we'd have those big subwoofers, and you always have the loud bass, speakers. It's the strangest thing. If you take a subwoofer out of the box and you turn on the music, it makes no sound at all. It'll go boom, boom, and it'll move, but no sound, because the back waves are canceling the front waves. And so, yes, you have sound, but it's neutralizing. It's like noise canceling headphones. And so that's what he found is he thought, well, if I put one EMF panel here, another EMF panel here, and put them at the right direction and all the nuance to it, then it cancels itself out. And so that was the technology that he invented and patented. And again, importantly, real world results, like hundreds of, this thing I love about Facebook groups is you can't game them. Like, when you have 43,000 group members, hundreds, maybe thousands of them have EMF meters and they're testing them. There might be one or two trolls from a sauna company hidden in there, but you see consistent patterns. And this is what I see with the Clearlight saunas, is that they're consistently low in EMFs. I've only ever seen two in nearly a decade of doing this that were high. One of them, there was actually a ground fault in their house. And then the second one, the lady actually had a meter that was inaccurate. She got a different meter, and it turned out that it was just her meter that was a problem. So I've never in the real world actually seen one that was high, that was a Clearlight. But many of the other brands, and your followers can certainly message me if they have any questions on Facebook and say, hey, Bret, what about ABC brand of sauna? And I have an Evernote file. I can send them a copy with links showing again, who are you going to trust? Some person with an incentive, a salesperson for the sauna company, or 43,000 independent people that are sharing their results.
Right. Now we talked about, maybe we skipped the first part, which is most of the people who are going to listen or listening right now, they are very aware, because I recommend the infrared sauna treatment. Mm-hmm. However, how does sauna helps with health conditions and overall well-being?
Yeah, that is an incredibly large topic. I'll just give a little bit of summary with maybe some references to it. So if somebody wants to nerd out on the science of it, I would recommend going online and doing a search for Rhonda Patrick saunas. She has a lot of videos on the science of it. And she has at foundmyfitness.com a website and a page dedicated to all the science behind it. The challenge of summarizing is there's like 10 or more mechanisms of action in terms of how it's from heat shock proteins to FOXO3 to improve cardiovascular fitness to relaxation to improve circulation. Like there's so many different mechanisms of action to detoxification. I mean, that is in my mind, that's the biggest reason to use a sauna is for detoxification because it used to be, so in health and wellness, most things are either a problem of deficiency or toxicity. And over the past several years, toxicity has been increasing. And so saunas are a great strategy to detoxify. They are great at removing toxic metals and petrochemicals, all categories of toxins can be sweated out in the sauna, and especially infrared, because it instead of it just being hot air, which is helpful, like in a traditional hot rock saunas, those are so beneficial, but they've actually shown about 4 times the toxins in the sweat of people using infrared saunas compared to traditional hot rock saunas. Plus it's just more tolerable. The hot rock saunas, like in Finland, are about 200 degrees, which if you grew up there and are used to it, then that's great. But for us wimpy Americans or whatever, it's like, okay, 130 degrees is much more tolerable, which makes it, this is the thing I love about saunas, is it's actionable. It's something that people in the medical literature, they call it compliance. People are willing to do it because it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable to sit in there, listen to your favorite podcast or audiobook or meditate or some people like will put a screen outside their sauna and watch Netflix or whatever, but they're enjoying the experience.
Now, when is it best to do a sauna? Morning, night, doesn't matter?
So there's kind of some trade-offs. So one thing to realize is about 20 to 30% of the population, if they sauna later in the evening, don't sleep as well at night. A lot of people sleep better if they sauna in the evening. So you kind of have to experiment with it yourself and see. So it also depends on what you're trying to optimize for, right? So like if at the end of the day you're stressed out and you just want to go relax in the sauna, then that's ideal. If you're wanting to optimize for detoxification, then probably first thing in the morning, because you're burning the free fatty acids because you've been fasting for 8 hours or so. And so you have a lot of toxins in circulation. So doing it before breakfast or before your first meal, which for some people, if they're doing intermittent fasting, that could be even later in the day. Mm-hmm. So there's not really a guideline other than, just trying to see what you want to optimize for.
Now, children, they're asking about children. Can we have children do the sauna, the infrared sauna? And if so, what's the age?
So I'm going to give a smart alecky answer to you. In Finland, you can have children in the sauna. And I mean that literally. They, for many, many generations, they literally gave birth to children in their sauna. So can you have children in the sauna? If you're a woman or identify as a woman, then yes. But to answer your real question, yes, in fact, I can pull it up and I can send you the reference to this. Pull it up in my Evernote file so I can answer it correctly. So here's the thing that you'll notice is that we have a bias towards avoiding litigation. And so what'll happen is people in the West say, no, you can't put kids in the sauna. No, it's nope. And it's not people that know about saunas. It's people that are just covering their themselves from a legal perspective. And so one thing to think about is in Finland, saunas are about 200 degrees, 175 to 212 degrees, somewhere in there. And people of all ages use saunas. And so it's like, well, wait a minute, if it's safe for children in Finland to use the sauna at 200 degrees, why would it not be safe for somebody in Europe, the rest of Europe, or in the United States or Australia or whatever to use a 130 to 160 degree infrared sauna? And there is some science that actually does back it up, that shows that that people with trying to find it here.
But just to be clear, the saunas you're referring to in Europe, those are not infrared saunas, right?
Correct, correct. So those are traditional hot rock saunas.
So is there more complication because of the EMF and the panels for children?
Yeah, so with the traditional hot rock saunas, you've got the heater. Well, and some of them were, like in Finland, were like wood-fired saunas, which is better than an electric heater one. But as long as you stay away from that heater in a traditional hot rock sauna, sit on the far side of it, then you're avoiding EMFs. But yeah, that's definitely a concern for anyone, whatever their age is. So we're assuming a low EMF sauna, but there's a PubMed study showing that saunas are safe for healthy people of all ages. So there's really, now what I will say is this, and this had to do with time in the sauna. There's definitely adaptation. So sauna use is like fitness. If you're out of shape, you don't buy a new pair of Nikes and go run 10 miles the next day. You go for a walk and a jog and work your way up. And it's the same with sauna use, is you want to gradually work your way up in terms of time and temperature. And especially with kids, people don't realize this, but they've done studies on women pre and post breastfeeding and birth, and they find their PCB levels, which is a very dangerous category of toxins, are reduced by about 40% after they're done giving birth and breastfeeding, which means a 130-pound woman took about half of her toxins and dumped it into a 10-pound baby. And so you think, well, my kid's pretty healthy. And it's like, no, they had 30 years worth of toxins dumped into them before they were even had a chance to get started. So it's very important to, and I think that's part of the reason, in addition to other things that can't be spoken of, causing autism and some of the neurological issues that you see in society today is largely toxin related. So I think it's not just that it's safe for children to use in most cases, but I would say it's incredibly important
for children to use.
Yes.
Is there someone who should not use the sauna?
I will say this, that, check with your doctor, all of this sort of thing. There are certain, it's interesting. Let me pull up my file on that. I have 5,418 Evernote files. So I rely on my database. Pull this up here. So it really depends on, so like some people will say, well, you shouldn't use a sauna if you have heart conditions, and yet saunas have been proven to reduce cardiovascular events. And so I think there's a lot of nuance that comes into it. I think the best thing to do would be if you have a specific, most health conditions are improved with saunas. And if your listeners or viewers want to message me and say, hey, Bret, does it help with Lyme disease? Does it help with this? Does it help with that? They can join my Facebook group, message me on Messenger, and I'll send my entire file on that specific condition. And then they can research it on their own in depth and have all the facts about their specific condition. But there are a handful of conditions. I'm not remembering them off the top of my head, and I'm not finding my file off of the top of my head, but 99% of people can use a sauna without any issues, and even people with compromised health. Again, the most important thing is to start off slowly and work your way up. A lot of times people get saunas and they get excited, because saunas, boy, when you research sauna therapy, it just sounds unbelievable. You're like, Journal of American Medical Associations found an all-cause mortality index was reduced by 50% for people who use the sauna 4 to 7 times a week. That's incredible. Your odds of dying of all these different causes is cut in half. Alzheimer's, dementia, neurodegenerative disease is reduced by over 1/3. people's endurance, athletes' endurance is increased. I told my friend who works at a bike shop that increased by 30%. He's like, that's like doping, man. That's like as good as the best steroids. So there's so many incredible benefits of saunas that when people look into it and they watch Rhonda Patrick's videos, learn about it, they get so excited that they want to go all in and like, okay, I'm going to do an hour a day, 7 days a week. And it's like, okay, great. That would be perfect. But let's start with 15 minutes and then let's do 20 minutes. And I'll tell your listeners a secret of how to tell how much to do. Firstly, listen to your intuition, listen to your body. I think that's imperative. But the second way you can tell if you've overdone it or not overdone it is not how you feel afterwards, because you get the endorphin rush, but how you feel the next day. If you feel depleted, off, that sort of thing, then you probably overdid it. But if you feel fine or better, then you didn't overdo it. That's the easiest metric, because overdoing it or underdoing it is going to be a day-to-day thing, depending on how much sleep you had, depending on your nutrition levels, these sorts of things. So yeah.
Bret, so your group that you refer to, it's hold on, let me pull it up here. It's Smart Detox with Sauna and the Niacin Protocol, and it has over 43,000 people. Now, can you talk a little bit about the Niacin Protocol? What is this, for those who don't know anything about it?
Yeah, good question. So when we talk about detoxification, the first question that we need to ask is, where are the toxins stored? And one of the first things to teach in medical school is toxins are stored in the fat cells. And that's true whether you're fat or not fat. Everybody has about 10% body fat at a minimum. So that's where toxins tend to store disproportionately. And I learned about this detox protocol, and this is what started the whole thing for me. I learned about this detox protocol, gosh, it was like maybe 15 years ago. And it turns out that niacin releases toxins from the fat cells, high dose flushing niacin. So in other words, not just like 25 milligrams in your B multi, but 50, 75, 100 milligrams or whatever. And that releases the toxins. And so what they were doing is they took drug addicts and they were trying to help them to get off drugs. And what they found is that you get somebody off drugs and then they start to burn their fat cells, and then the cocaine or meth or whatever goes back in their bloodstream and they get a mini high, and that causes the cravings. And so they thought, well, if we can get the drugs out of their body, detoxify them, then we'll reduce the relapse rate. And so that's actually what a company called Narconon since 1966 has been doing, is they do this niacin sauna detox. They charge 10 grand to go to their clinic. And they get instead of a 25% success rate, they have a 75% success rate, because they're actually getting the toxins out. So the niacin, what it does is it releases the toxins, and then you get in the sauna and sweat out the toxins. And you do that every day for about 3 weeks. I have a video on it in the group and a free book on how to do it and all that sort of thing. And it is absolutely incredible. So it also gets the toxins out of your brain, which is amazing, because there's a lot of good science around this too. This is not just hype. It's they use it on Gulf War veterans, September 11 firefighters. It's been used for decades all over the world, oil spill cleanup workers, and they found an average 17% IQ increase, which is equivalent to like 2 years of college. Absolutely incredible. And it's not that you downloaded a bunch of data. It's just you gained back the reduced IQ that, if you do a search, everybody knows that lead reduced IQ, but most people don't realize that most toxins reduce IQ. And they accumulate in the brain, and the niacin releases toxins from the fat tissues, whether it's in your abdomen or your butt or your brain or your arms or wherever the fat is, it releases the toxins. And what I did is I found out that this protocol has been around for a long time. And it used to be where you take the niacin and then this is going to sound crazy, but it's true, do 4 to 5 hours of sauna time in a traditional hot rock sauna at least 160 degrees. Now you could take breaks, but that's the protocol. And that's actually the same protocol they're still using. Well, I found out that infrared saunas detoxify 4.3 times faster. And then I learned that niacin, and the science wasn't available when they first came out with the protocol, with the sauna niacin protocol. This is why I call it smart detox. It's a smarter way of doing it. is that it takes 3 hours before the niacin releases the toxins. And so what I do and what I teach my group members to do is you take the niacin, and please, folks who are listening, please do not go take niacin and get in the sauna. This is a professional level protocol. There's several other nutrients. You have to take the right dosage. This is a recipe for impeccably great health. It's also a recipe for catastrophe if you do it improperly. I'm not trying to scare you off, but I'm trying to scare you enough to like go read the free book, like get more information, learn how to do it.
There's also this book.
Yeah. Yep. There's different books on it. The one that I have in the group is a free version. But it's the same principle but what's nice now is now if you delay the niacin timing for 3 hours, get in the sauna and use an infrared sauna, now it's just an hour of sauna time and 3 weeks. And so it's actionable. And that's really what I've been able to create is, so basically I've taken a $10,000 detox protocol and brought it to folks. And I share the information, the free book, the information is in my group is free on how to do that detox protocol, because I wanted to bring it to the public. So that's why I call the group what it is smart detoxes. It's a smarter way of doing. It's smart because number one, it's getting the toxins out from where they're stored, and number two, it's an improved version of the most proven detox protocol in the world.
Oh, so you mentioned 3 weeks detox protocol with niacin and a bunch of other nutrients that needs to be taken in conjunction. How often should this people attempt this 3 weeks detox, or is just one off?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's kind of interesting because the studies show that after you do the niacin detox protocol, when they've done pre and post fat biopsies, they find a 40 to 60% reduction in the toxin levels in the fat cells, which is a gold standard of toxin testing. But what they've also found is that after you do that, your body's going to continue. Your body doesn't say, oh, well, we got 46%. That's better than nothing. Well, now you've unburdened the detoxification pathways and you've opened things up, and your body actually continues to detoxify. We actually have a doctor in our group, Debbie Birkinson, and she was working at one of these top clinics that was doing this detox protocol. And so she had access to lab testing. And so she did lab testing before and after the detox protocol. She found the same thing, 40, 60% reduction. But then she did the toxin testing every month afterwards. And for the next several months, the toxin levels kept going down and down and down. So definitely once, what I recommend, just because a lot of people don't do it, they don't do it ideally the first time, especially if they're doing it themselves. And then a lot of people are just exposed to, it's really hard to understand. People think, well, I eat organic, so I'm not exposed to that many toxins. And it's like, okay, you have to understand this. If you compare yourself to everybody that's lived in the entire history of the world, and you're the cleanest person in living today, like you're like me, you live on the side of the mountain, cook all your own food, 100% organic, like crazy extreme stuff, right? I'm still exposed to more toxins than 99% of everybody in the history of the world, because the petrochemical revolution in the 1960s or so has inundated us with toxins that we are not adapted. So like lead, mercury, some of these toxins in the soil, aluminum, our bodies have had time to adapt to from an evolutionary perspective to detoxification. But these petrochemical toxins were not adapted to. And so because of the world being as toxic as it is, detoxification is, and this is why, even though I'm a general wellness expert, this is why I focus so much on detoxification, because you get the most results for the least amount of effort in detoxification is anything that I've seen. And so, and that's why the saunas and the sauna niacin protocol and like your lymph cleanse and detox, all these things are incredibly, incredibly important to get and maintain optimal health.
That's really, really helpful. Bret, someone is asking, can the niacin have the same effect without the sauna?
Well, it'll have the effect. Whether you get rid of those toxins release is going to be the question. Okay, so when they first did this protocol back in the early days, they knew that niacin released the toxins, and they knew that from the fat cells, and they knew that sweating removed the toxins. So they thought, well, okay, how do we get people to sweat? And so they literally put people in sweatsuits. And by that, I mean like garbage butt, plastic bag sort of things, and had them go and jog for 4 hours. And so then they would sweat out the toxins, and that worked. I've had people, this is not ideal, but life's not always ideal. Not everybody's in a perfect situation. I've had people do this detox protocol with a hot bath. Now they kept having to get boiling pans of water to dump in keep the bath hot. But if you just take niacin, a high dose niacin, you're literally taking a year's worth of stored toxins and dumping them into your bloodstream. So you're poisoning yourself. Now, if you poison yourself for the purpose of getting those toxins out right away, then great. But just taking niacin, a flushing dose of niacin is catastrophically bad for your health.
And that's key, because all we do and all we talk about, especially in our lymphatic reset, it's about elimination. So all sorts of chelation, even when people get into heavy metal detoxification, they are meant to bind to metals or to toxin, the so-called binders. They have a limited effect if the body is not able to actually eliminate the toxins bound to the binders. So that's why the biggest part of my work is about creating awareness on the fact that no matter what is the detox you're attempting to do, they're only as good as your elimination pathways ability to eliminate effectively. So to the question, can I use niacin? Yes, as long as your elimination pathways are open and you're able to effectively eliminate. Now, another question. So because it's a sizable investment, obviously the infrared sauna, are there alternatives like infrared mats or infrared blankets or any type of device that is definitely much less expensive than a sauna?
Yeah, good question. So I've worked with some of these companies because I would really like to see, and I had somebody that I was hoping to partner with to build like a portable tent-like sauna that is non-toxic, because I get it, like when I bought my sauna, it cost more than my car, and I thought, what are you doing? Why are you spending more on a sauna than your car? And I thought, well, if my roof was leaking, I would buy a new roof, even if that meant maxing out my credit cards, which is what it took for me to buy a sauna. I had to apply for a second credit card and max them both out to protect my house. And it's like, well, but this is the house that I live in. This is my body. I have to protect it. So I get that not everybody's that extreme with their health, or not everybody has the resources. I get that. And it's troubling to me because what happens is these portable sauna companies, again, think about it from their perspective. What's the way to optimize for their profits? Okay, let's make a tent sauna. Let's make a sauna blanket, and let's make it with petroleum-based materials, polyester fabric, and I had one of my group members who didn't trust me, and that's fine. I don't take anything personally. And he bought like 5 or 10 of the brands of the tent saunas. And he's like, oh yeah, they all stunk to high heaven. And it's because they're made out of petrochemical materials. And it's really sad because it's unnecessary. It's absolutely unnecessary. And I worked with one of the bigger sauna companies that makes these portable saunas and said, hey, listen, here's the fabric that you need to use. Here's how you need to do it. And if you do this, if you clean up your sauna, I will become your biggest fan, because, hey, I have an incentive to have a bigger product line to be able to sell people. If I could sell people Clearlight saunas, which I help my group members get discounts on them, and I give them bonuses and help make sure they get the right saunas. I help people do that. But I'd also like to have an affordable option for people as well, that maybe can't, and they do have a 12-month interest-free plan, so it makes it more affordable. But sadly, there's literally nothing out there. And people say, well, but you haven't researched everything. I'm like, well, yeah, maybe I haven't, but believe me, my 43,000 group members have. And they ask me, they say, Bret, what about this sauna? What about this sauna? And this is all I've done for a decade. And so sadly, they're all made with toxic materials, and 99% of them are high in EMF. So if somebody, I have a file in my group called Detox Options for those on a budget. And really the two really affordable options are using a bathtub, and there's some ways to optimize that where you can keep it heated longer and this sort of thing. You can sweat a lot in your bathtub. You'd be surprised. It doesn't seem like you're sweating. You have to kind of check your forehead to see if you're sweating because, obviously you're underwater. And then, exercise. That's one thing that, like when I go work out, like if somebody saw me, I live on the side of the mountain in the middle of nowhere, so nobody sees me, but it's like, dude, it's not wintertime. Why are you dressed like that? I've got this Under Armour infrared jacket on and like, big sweatpant, like all this heavy stuff on. And it's like, well, yeah. And I've got long underwear underneath, and I get back and I'm just drenched in sweat. And that is a really surprisingly good way, a good budget way, because what you're doing is you're inducing, so lipolysis is the release of those free fatty acids, those toxins from the bloodstream. And so when you're exercising, you are inducing lipolysis in a similar way that niacin does. And so if you're sweating while you're exercising, and most importantly, removing that sweat. So, if you're sitting there on an exercise bike and you're toweling off, that's spectacular to do. And then again, the hot bath too. But I would categorically, without exception, avoid every sauna blanket, every tent sauna, and because every single one that I've seen is made with toxic materials and is high in EMFs.
So one thing that you brought up for those who are coming up now, and some are saying that they're so bummed because they purchased a sauna blanket before I knew all about the EMF and never used it. It's not only the EMF that seems to be usually the biggest conversation, at least in my groups, but it's also the presence of toxins due to the material that this saunas has been built with. And I heard you one time saying that you buy a new TV and you leave it outside, out of the box for a couple of days to make sure that the DOC and everything, why do you leave your TV out of the box outside before you bring it in the house?
Yeah, good question. I do that with all sorts of different, in fact, I actually have a cabinet that's been outside underneath the awning there for almost a year now because it had an odor to it. So toxins migrate with heat. And so I'll give you an example. I bought a new laptop and I could smell it. And I'm like, okay, this is a catastrophe. I'll be sitting in front of this for hours and hours. And so I have my kombucha cooler it's a big 150 quart cooler. So I went and put it outside, put a light bulb in it that got to like 120, 130 degrees in there. So basically created a sauna inside there. And then that just burned out the toxins. And so because the toxins migrate with heat. So like if you buy a brand new car, the best thing to do is which I don't recommend buying a brand new one, but buy one that was in Arizona on a car lot in the sun at 130 degrees because the toxins are going to outgas. And so that's why, like when I buy new stuff, I'll set it outside. For the UPS guy must think I'm kind of strange. I like open up my packages and then just leave the stuff outside. It's like, what's this guy doing? But that's, and again, this is the problem with these sauna blankets and fabric saunas, tent saunas is they're made with toxic materials that outgas the toxins. And so yeah, that's, and then as far as EMFs, the EMF meters there's a lot of them that are relatively inexpensive and pretty accurate within 5%, which is all you need. And so if you're wondering if your sauna is high in EMFs, buy a $30 to $60 meter. You can message me and I'll send you the one that I recommend that's least expensive and show you how to use it. And you can test it and, trust but verify. I mean, why not know? And sometimes you'll find a sauna where it's like over on this side, the EMFs are really high, but over on this side, it's not because they have inconsistent manufacturing. And so, okay, sit over here where it's lower, and some people have asked me about, well, I'll just scoot away from the panels. And then I'll be, avoid the EMFs. Well, EMFs drop off at the square of the distance, and the same with infrared. And so if you get far enough away to where you're avoiding the EMFs, you're avoiding the infrared, and so you've lost the benefits of the infrared. So, yeah, it's kind of a frustrating situation that there aren't companies that care enough. If somebody wants to make a ton of money, I'll show you exactly how to do it. Make your own sauna, manufacture a low EMF sauna, tent sauna. I'll show you exactly the materials. But I'm just not I'm super competent in research and health and wellness, but I'm not like a competent business guru where I can source manufacturing and materials and logistics and warehousing and employees. Like that's not my jam. But for somebody who it is their jam, this is like all of the I mean, there's like this huge vacuum in the market, and it's like somebody just needs to fill it. And like I just want people to improve their health. I mean, that's what I'm all about. And that's why most people in my position sell multiple brands of saunas, because they make more money that way. And then whichever brand of sauna somebody wants, they're like, oh yeah, it's a good choice here. Let me help you with that. But I won't do that, because I want to make sure that people are getting a sauna that's actually going to help them and isn't filled with toxins and EMFs, and one that has a good warranty that they'll have for decades. And that's the other thing that I look at, is just like, well, okay, how many products do you have that you'll have for a lifetime? I mean, if you spent $6,000 on a sauna and you had it for 30 years, that's $200 a year, $15 a month or something. Like that's not that much money over a period of time, especially when you recognize the dramatic improvements in your health. So that's why I spent more on my sauna than I did on my car, because I knew the return on investment in terms of health would be incredible.
Wonderful, Bret. Thank you so much. So I wanted to recap for those who are joining us late. 3 major things to look into when you decide to buy a sauna. Of course, EMF, toxins, and a good warranty, preferably a lifetime warranty, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's a lot more nuance in terms of like full spectrum saunas and like sauna sizing. Sauna sizing is really, I'll give an example, really deceptive. I'll give an example. Clearlight's best-selling sauna is their Sanctuary 2-person sauna. And I think, sauna companies have to hire salespeople, and salespeople, what are their incentives? They want to make a quick sale and move on with their day. That's how they optimize for profits. But a 2-person sauna, imagine a person going on a camping trip. They buy a 2-man tent. They've never been camping before. They get up on top of the mountain and they're like, uh-oh, we can't fit 2 people in this. Well, that's the way saunas are. The sizing is misleading. And the electrical, like the 2-person says it's 120. And so people assume it plugs into a regular outlet, but it doesn't. So, and some people think, oh, well, this one has chromotherapy. They both have chromotherapy. And it's like, well, no, that's one is a medical grade. One is just a marketing term. So there's just a lot of nuance and detail. And that's why my group members reach out to me, because I actually guide them through that, help them to figure out which sauna is the right one for their needs, because it is not at all obvious. And people think, oh, I just need this brand. And it's like, well, I've had people who ended up getting the wrong size sauna, the wrong type, whatever. It's not catastrophic, but it's like, you want to get it right the first time. And that's what I help my group members, or, folks that you refer to my group, whatever, anybody reached out to me, and I can give you my contact information, even if you're not on Facebook, where you can email me or whatever. So, because I know that like it's a permanent decision, because you can't just, like return it at, wherever, like you got to get it right the first time. And so that's what I help people to do. And I help them get a discount on it, as well as showing them how to use the sauna properly. And there's a lot more nuance to it as well. So yeah. And like you mentioned, one of your group members apparently was somebody who got a sauna from me and was using it and was really happy with it. So that's what I strive to do.
And Bret, someone is asking, is there an ideal level of indoor humidity for the sauna? And does the wood warp at higher levels of humidity?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. So I have my sauna in my basement, and a lot of people think I'm an engineer when they talk to me, because I'm like very technically minded. And so I bought some humidity meters, figured out how to calibrate them to make sure they were accurate, and had several of them side by side to make sure they were accurate, and put them in my basement because I like want to prevent mold and moisture and whatever. And then I had one in my sauna, and my basement was like 43% humidity, something like that. And sitting inside my sauna was turned off, door was open. The humidity meter said 20%. I'm like, well, but it's the same air that's in the rest of the basement. Why would it be any different? And so I checked the meters, and they're accurate. And it turns out that because in a good sauna, now some of the sauna, I mean, who knows what you get out there, but the good sauna brands kiln dry the wood. And So the wood is bone dry. And so it actually operates as a desiccant. So it's actually going to be very, very dry inside the sauna. Especially if you get cedar, cedar is the most resilient wood type. And for those that are concerned about mold, it's the best wood type for saunas. There's a Japanese beverage called sake. And if it has one spore of mold in it, it ruins the entire batch. And so how do they make it? They make it in an entire room made out of cedar, because cedar is the best for preventing mold. So kiln dried cedar would be ideal, but not a big issue really. We have people that put their saunas outside, where humidity can be 70 to 90%. So not a major concern, but hopefully that answered their question.
Okay, thank you, Bret. Let me see.
And for those of you who maybe didn't get your question answered while we're doing the live stream here, you can feel free to message me, and I'd be happy to answer your questions as time allows. I have most of these types of questions, commonly answered questions, in my private files, which I just copy and paste. And so it doesn't take me much time, but I'm able to provide incredibly valuable information. People message me all the time about specific conditions. Will it help with this or that? Or what about this brand of sauna? And I can send my file over very quickly and efficiently, and save people dozens of hours of research.
And that's how I found you. I am part of your group, Bret, and if I'm going to post it here, of course, at the bottom of this live, but if anybody is interested in joining Bret, I recommend you guys to join his group. Where is it? I don't have it here, but Bret, what's the name of your group specifically?
Yeah, it's called, well, if you go to facebook.com/groups, /sauna detox. That's the best way to find my group, because Facebook, for whatever reasons, I don't know, I maybe talked about things that get injected in people's arms, and that I wasn't always a fan of that. And so I think they deboosted my group for various reasons. But so if you search Smart Detox, it may or may not show up under groups. It's the one with the swimming pool and the big sauna outside as the picture. But if you go to facebook.com/groups /sauna detox, which apparently you'll have a link below, that'll take them directly to my group. And then you'll see me in the group, and then you can click on my name and message me, or facebook.com/my name, Bret, BRET, BOUER. You can go directly to my Facebook page and click message, and I'll see your message. I'll be able to help answer your questions and show you how saunas can improve your health, and which ones, just answer various questions for you.
Sounds good, Bret. Thank you so much for being with us today. I know that possibly, we're going to see you again at some point. Yeah, thank you so much. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of our listeners here will come your way and ask more questions.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on your program. It's great talking with you.
Bye, Bret. Bye, everybody.
Bye.